Today on Hearts of Heroes, a fast-moving fire sweeps through a house full of sleeping children, threatening the lives of everyone inside.
I just remember my sister coming up, screaming, "There's a fire, there's a fire."
Until a stranger sees smoke and jumps into the fire to help.
Without hesitation, I went back inside.
Then we were told all of the family members are accounted for except for one child and one male.
6-year-old girl and a 23-year-old male physically missing.
What went through my mind was, am I going to get stuck?
Plus, a devastating fire threatens priceless artifacts in the home of a World War II fighter pilot.
There was a guy, and he said, "I see smoke coming out of your attic."
You're about to see that true heroes come from all walks of life. There's nothing better than a hot, delicious pizza delivered within minutes by a driver with a smile.
But when one pizza delivery driver showed up to a house engulfed in flames, he left the pepperoni behind and delivered courage and quick thinking instead.
There was a wall of flame, and it was rolling up the front of the house.
And they said there was a baby left in there. So without hesitation, I went back inside.
I saw him and then grabbed me.
She didn't want to jump through the window.
And then I just heard glass shatter.
Lafayette, Indiana sits about 60 miles from Indianapolis and is home to Purdue University.
We're an old community, great place to live. It's one of those places where you can accidentally leave your car unlocked, and it'll still be there when you get back.
David and Tierra Barrett live in Lafayette, and they lead a busy life, working and raising a house full of children.
6 kids, ranging from 20 to 2, an active family, which is fun and chaotic. Kaylani.
May I open here?
Thank you, honey.
Can I open it?
Since we're running around all the time, we never get time to ourselves.
In August of 2022, David and Tierra decided to go on a much-needed and well-deserved date night. While they went out, their daughter Sienna watched over her younger siblings, ages 14, 6, and 1.
My 18-year-old daughter was babysitting. She sleeps downstairs. And there was Shaylee and a friend upstairs in her room. And then the baby, she was up in her crib. And Kaylani usually would sleep upstairs, but she slept in her brother's room.
Since her brother was spending the night at a friend's house, and unbeknownst to anybody else, Kaylani fell asleep in his room. As the kids drifted off to sleep, a fire started toward the front of the house. The blaze was spreading quickly. At the same time, pizza delivery driver Nick Bostick decided he needed some time to himself.
I wanted to drive around and get some cool, fresh air. I love driving. That's my thing. So as I'm driving through the night, I'm passing this house that's on fire. I slam on my brakes and I get out and I'm immediately yelling fire. I was planning on going into the front of the house, but the fire was there on the porch, so I went around to the side of the house.
Nick ran up and started knocking on the door. Nobody answered, so we forced the door and went inside.
As I'm looking, the fire's starting up the wall in the face of the house, and as I'm yelling going through their house,
Tiana woke up. She went instantly upstairs, grabbed the baby first.
This courageous 18-year-old knew she was responsible for these children. So, after grabbing the baby, she rushed in to alert Sister Shaylee and a friend, who were both asleep.
I just remember my sister coming up, screaming, "There's a fire, there's a fire." And my first instinct was just get out the house.
Without hesitation, Sienna took control.
they all right then poured out of that room and came going down the stairs. And we rushed out to the back door. I asked him if there's anybody left in the house.
And then Sienna was like, Kaylani's inside the house still. So she handed me the baby and was ready to go back inside. But then Nick was there and told us to stay out and be safe.
Without hesitation, I went back inside.
6-year-old Kaylani was somewhere inside the house, but nobody knew where. Meanwhile, David and Tierra got a frantic call from their daughter Sienna.
Dad's house on fire. She kept saying, I can't find Kaylani. We just dropped everything and took off.
Coming up, Nick has to make a life-threatening decision.
She didn't want to jump through the window, but there was no more time to say anything else.
I just heard glass shatter, and I saw them fall.
Hey, we gotta get away from the house.
And later, firefighters battle a dangerous electrical fire.
When you find a live wire inside a fire, it could electrocute you back in through your water stream.
But first, a tip should you ever find yourself in a burning building.
As a restoration specialist, I've seen many homes impacted by fires. But while many fires start out small, they can double in size every 30 seconds.
If you're not able to quickly put out a fire with an extinguisher, it's safest to get everyone out of the house and call 911 from a mobile phone or your neighbor's residence.
Remember, never go back into a burning structure to save belongings. Items can be replaced, but lives cannot. Be smart, stay safe, call 911, and let the professionals step in.
In August of 2022, a fire erupted in the home of the Barrett family. Nick Bostick was just passing by, but he saw danger and ran into the burning home to help. Nick woke the children and helped the oldest sister guide them all to safety. But 6-year-old Kaylani Barrett was still trapped inside. Nick made the heroic decision to go back in and look for that little girl who wasn't in her bedroom.
Fire was in the front of the house, so he obviously wasn't going to look there. Went upstairs, he started checking the rooms.
I was looking in closets, I was looking under their bed. I tried the other 2 rooms up there, and without any success, I went downstairs.
No one had realized that the little girl had fallen asleep in her brother's room.
I woke up and then I saw smoke.
Nick followed the sound of her cries coming from the downstairs bedroom.
I was down at the bottom of the steps, and I was hearing her cry, and as I'm taking a step in, the heat just starts like scorching me and scares me. So I hesitated for a second, then I heard her cry again.
I was screaming and crying.
It was all black. I just had my hands reached out in front of me, and I was feeling around until I found her.
I saw him and then grabbed me.
With the blinding thick smoke, Nick couldn't find his way back to the door that he had come through in the first place.
I'm reaching around trying to feel for this back door that I thought was directly in front of the staircase, and it wasn't there, so I just gave up. I didn't want to get lost. What went through my mind was, am I going to get stuck?
Holding Kaylani in his arms, Nick made his way back to the second floor.
It was the only place that I knew I wasn't going to get lost. It was like probably a 50-50 shot.
By this time, first responders had arrived.
The front of the house was fully involved in fire, so we could not go through the front of the door. Then we were told all of the family members are accounted for except for 1 child and 1 male.
6-year-old girl and a 23-year-old male missing in the house somewhere.
We hustled up the staircase. Instead of looking at any of the other rooms, I just went to the one that was closest to me, and I was ripping down the curtains and blinds.
With the fire raging, Nick knew their only hope was to break the window and jump from the second floor.
The first time my fist bounced off the window, so I gave it one more good blow. Like everything I had, and then it busted it out. She said before we jumped, she didn't want to jump through the window, but there was no more time to say anything else.
And then grabbed me, we jumped out.
Shoulders first. I just threw us out of the window.
We were talking to cops, and then I just heard glass shatter, and I saw them fall.
I tried to twist my body, so at least she landed on the top of me. I wanted to pad her landing, so I took all the impact on my right side.
As the crew was running around the corner, Nick was running around the opposite direction, and Nick ran right past the guy and said, "I got him out, I got him out."
Thanks, everybody. Medic! Hey, we gotta get away from the house, okay? You're okay.
By this time, David and Tiara had arrived home.
And that's when we found out that everybody was okay.
Nick and Kaylani had smoke inhalation, and Nick was burned and had broken bones.
Is the baby okay? Please tell me that baby's okay. Yeah, we're good.
Both were brought to the hospital and thankfully recovered.
You did good, dude. Okay?
I was laying in the hospital bed, and I was telling myself it's worth it, and I would think about Kaylani.
I do just remember in our first conversation, he just kept saying, "Is she okay? How's everybody doing?" That was his demeanor.
The Barrett family lost their home and most of their belongings, but their most precious possession, their family, was saved thanks to the courageous acts of their 18-year-old daughter, Sienna.
She's like my hero because she basically saved my life.
And because of a heroic stranger who happened to be passing by.
The first thing I did tell him, I was like, you know, unfortunately, you have now been adopted into my family.
You're stuck with us now.
They gave me something that I didn't have before the fire, and that was a feeling of love, like unconditional love that I've never had before.
For a civilian with no training, no equipment, no protection to do this, that's really what speaks of heroism, because he did it at great risk to himself.
I would never have thought it would be Nick Bostic that would have such tremendous effect on my family.
Yeah.
But he did. He saved my baby.
Thank you for saving me.
Coming up, an electrical fire puts first responders in a life or death situation.
We couldn't stop the problem until we get the electricity completely turned off.
That electrician could have jumped through the water stream and electrocuted our firefighters.
The brave men and women who served in the Second World War have been called the greatest generation. And when you hear their stories, it's not hard to understand why.
When one World War II fighter pilot's home went up in flames, long-forgotten artifacts emerged. These treasures opened a portal into the past, leaving even his loved ones astonished by his unspoken history.
Waco, Texas, located near the center of the state, sits about halfway between Dallas and Austin.
Waco is like the biggest small town in Texas.
It's scenic. There's a lake there, big parks, not much traffic. It was a good town to grow up.
96-year-old Robert Ross has lived in Waco since 1965. 2 decades before moving to Waco, he had enlisted as a fighter pilot in World War II.
I knew I wanted to fly, and I was lucky enough to get into the aviation cadet program.
More than 100 missions in the South Pacific earned him countless medals, including the Distinguished Flying Cross. But like many heroes, Robert never really talked much about his accomplishments to anyone, including his own kids.
I did not know that he flew 115 missions. He's never mentioned that.
Robert's keepsakes and honors might have been forgotten forever had it not been for a frightening event in June of 2022.
I was getting breakfast, and all of a sudden, this big pop. And the lights from all different parts of the house flashed on and off. And about that time come a furious knock on my front door. There's a guy there, and he said, "I see smoke coming out of the louvers of your attic."
When we got to the home, I saw light smoke coming from the eaves. That tells me that the fire's probably in the attic.
Summers are very hot, but this year was record-breaking because so many people are trying to stay cool. They're using more electricity, and as a result, it's putting a lot of extra strain on the electrical grid.
Many older homes like Robert's have outdated wiring. That puts a strain on the system when large appliances, like air conditioners, run for extended periods of time.
Simply put, Robert's wiring melted down. So to protect themselves, firefighters called in the utility company to turn off the power so they could fight the blaze. If the power was still on, things could turn deadly.
That electrician could have jumped through the water stream and electrocuted our firefighters. I remember the electrical utility guy saying, "I just removed the meter."
But somehow, power was still running through the house.
Electrical spark shoot, radio out, the power's not off.
We couldn't stop the problem until we get the electricity completely turned off.
Coming up, firefighters are faced with a layered and dangerous situation.
Turn the breakers off, it should eliminate all the power source of the house. That didn't happen.
That electrician could have electrocuted our firefighters.
In all that wreckage, long-lost treasures are discovered.
We started finding pictures and medals and all kind of stuff, so I knew it was going to be a special job at that point.
But first, a tip to keep you and your loved ones safe should you ever have a fire in your home.
Home fires can be terrifying and disorienting. Having a family safety plan in place can give you peace of mind.
Work with your loved ones to develop a designated meeting space near your home. That way, during an emergency, you'll know that everyone is safe and accounted for.
Having a plan in place before an emergency isn't just smart, it can save your life.
In June of 2022, an electrical fire ignited in the attic of World War II veteran Robert Ross. Utility workers tried turning off the breakers, but power kept running through the house.
That electricity could have jumped to the water stream and electrocuted our firefighters.
We were kind of puzzled because turn the breakers off, it should eliminate all the power source to the house. That didn't happen.
So he ended up having to go to the pole and shut the electricity coming off from the transformer.
And we did confirm that the power's off. Then we could open up all the walls, open up all the ceiling that we needed to ensure that the fire is completely out.
It was, but not before it did significant damage.
Whenever they pull ceilings, it makes a huge mess. Insulation goes everywhere. The sheetrock's wet, the insulation's wet because they've been blasting water into the attic for, 30, 40 minutes.
Our sponsor, Belfour Property Restoration, assessed the mess that the fire had made and began the cleanup.
The whole house had to be gutted down to the studs. We're gonna have to totally rewire the house and replace the roof.
But as they surveyed, they found something fascinating and unexpected.
I was kind of kicking around the insulation and the sheetrock, and I found an old leather satchel, and I looked on there, and it had pilot training manual on it, and I thought, man, this is pretty cool.
This Japanese flag, there's all these really interesting documents. There's a letter from this general that was mailed to his dad while he was still flying over Japan. Basically like a commendation, like you should be proud of your son type of situation.
And then we started finding pictures and medals and all kind of stuff, so I knew it was gonna be a special job at that point.
But many of these priceless artifacts had suffered serious water damage.
We immediately took them up to our facility in Fort Worth and put them through the filtration process, and then had them frozen and dried out and then cleaned.
We quickly learned that this guy has just an incredible story. We knew we had to do something extra for this man to honor him. We wanted to put him in some kind of display case, something he could hang on to, be proud of.
Today, they are presenting Robert with this special gift to honor his wartime service.
Hey, guys. Hey, Dad.
How's it going?
Hey, it's the Balfour guys. Dakota and Billy.
Hey.
What you got?
Well, Mr. Ross, after we saved some items from your house after the fire, we wanted to put this together for you. We had them professionally cleaned and processed so that we can present it to you.
Beautiful. Oh, it's fantastic.
We appreciate your service, and we appreciate you trusting us with your home and getting everything put back together. You're gonna have to tell us some of these stories, though.
There's the letter from your commander.
Yeah, that letter to your father.
Oh, my cripes, that's really something. There's my original wings. In fact, I think that's the pair I gave to my mother. Well, I'll be darned.
And Dad, the flag, you were given that in Japan?
Yeah, that was given to me by the Japanese people. The family gave that flag to me. And I thought that was really, really nice. I thought that was a great gift. But this is beautiful, and I thank you,
great job, guys,
Belfour, for doing this. This is just, well, I don't know. I'm just amazed. I've never seen anything like this before.
Wow, Dad.
Yep, memories. Lots of memories.
It's cool getting to help people. I think it brought out a lot of memories that he hasn't really thought of in a long time.
I flew 115 combat missions and never got a scratch. Well, what more can you say if you go through a war and don't get a scratch? You gotta say you're lucky.
It is remarkable to think that such incredible history can rise from the ashes of destruction.
Or how stories from decades ago emerge from the most difficult circumstances.
But you don't need a disaster to give thanks to the heroes in your family, be they young or old. Until next time, thanks for watching Hearts of Heroes.